So as mentioned before, there were a couple of live albums, and this is the other one that dropped. And this is the one that I've been really excited for, but also not excited for kind of the same reasons as the Opeth one that I reviewed earlier. So let's kind of dive into it and discuss this one. Home Invasion in Concert at the Royal Albert Hall by Steven Wilson. Within his last album of To the Bone, he tried his hand at more pop music. I'm not too sure how well he succeeded at it. I'm sure in his mind he succeeded quite well, but I don't know. It wasn't my favorite, and I completely see why it was my favorite, and I mean, it's the only album of his that I still do not own. Here, he's touring with it, he's promoting it, and so most of the songs off of here are in that kind of a vein. So the first thing that I want to talk about, some of the song choices that he has on this album, and I will even admit that it was an interesting smattering of songs, and I'm kind of wondering why he chose some of the songs that he did, because on the face, it's a really good smattering of songs. It covers quite a number of songs from his Porcupine Tree days, a number of songs from Hand Cannot Erase, and then a lot of songs from To the Bone. But the songs that he's chosen from his Porcupine Tree days, I thought he was going to try songs from Stupid Dream or Lightbulb Sun, those songs that kind of captured the essence that To the Bone was also attempting to capture, being a little bit more accessible, a lot shorter in length, a lot less symphonic and bombastic, and pushing the boundaries forward, much more singer-songwriter, much more poppy in tone. The only song that's from these two albums is the encore song of Even Less, and it's pared down so much that it's essentially just a guitar ballad with Steven and his guitar. I like the rendition of this track. I like how subdued it is in comparison to the very bombastic studio release. And I like that he tries something different as well. The only other songs that he has on here that are kind of similar in vein of that singer-songwriter poppy approach for the, at least within the Porcupine Tree, we have Lazarus from his Deadwing album, and Sound of Music. And Sound of Music is less of a like poppy approach and much more of like just a straight up single from his In Absentia or In Absentia, or however you guys want to pronounce it. I'm still just pronouncing it In Absentia. And the other songs that are presented here from the Porcupine Tree discography, I was pleasantly surprised. Like, these are some of the more proggy tracks that he had chosen from this. We have Arriving Somewhere But Not Here, Sleep Together from Fear of a Blank Planet, and both of these tracks are very proggy in approach. They're much more longer, they've got quite a number of movements throughout them, and Sleep Together is probably one of my favorite Porcupine Tree tracks, if not my favorite. I'm not 100% sure about that one, and just the way that it gets into you and how heavy-handed it is. A really, really dark and beautiful track in that sense, but I don't know if it really fits the MO of To the Bone. And same with Arriving Somewhere But Not Here, but I find Arriving Somewhere But Not Here is a little bit more of that singer-songwriter, a little bit more humbled, and that kind of fits the whole To the Bone notion. Now, I am glad to see that Home Invasion and Regret Number 9 are both on this album, as well as my other favorite track from Hand Cannot Erase, which is Ancestral. Both of these tracks are just brilliant and very proggy in approach. A Home Invasion, I mean, it goes without saying it would be on here, seeing as it's actually called Home Invasion. I love the play out within Regret Number 9, and even though we don't have Jethro Govin or Marco Miniman performing this song, Craig Brendel on drums and Alex Hutchinson on guitar do a fantastic work of really like getting the essence of that track. And even with the keyboards of Adam Holtzman, they know where their skill is within this track, and they know exactly how to play to that. And within Regret Number 9, having that little bit of a jam session with all three of them really, it surprised me of just how well these players were able to play within the sandbox that the other musicians had created. Finally, it ends off with The Raven That Refused to Sing. I mean, he didn't do anything from the first two albums, which I can understand. We already have Get All You Deserve, and so we don't really need to have them on another live performance. I was very, I don't want to say disappointed, but I was disappointed of the fact that being Raven That Refused to Sing is my favorite album of his, how there wasn't a whole lot of presence on here from those, and I understand completely. The songs are a lot longer, it would take up a lot more time, and the songs don't really fit the identity of the To The Bone set. At least those songs that he did bring to the set that feel a little bit off still kind of fit within that box a little bit, whereas the other songs really don't. Like, they're a lot darker, they're a lot more menacing in tone, and Raven That Refused to Sing is probably the only one outside of maybe Needle Drop or Drive Home that fit this kind of a concept, and it would have been nice to have them somewhere, but I guess we'll just have to do with the YouTube presence as well as some of the added bonuses and features that we had from other past works of his. So those are all the tracks outside of those that are To The Bone. And I mean, this album is really pushing the To The Bone because this is the tour. This is the To The Bone tour. Now, To The Bone, as I had mentioned in my review of it, it wasn't my favorite one. And in fact, the musical presentation here doesn't really fluctuate or change all that much between the studio recording and this recording. So you can pretty much just view my review of To The Bone and get the gist of how I feel about the tracks here. I will just talk really quickly about Blank Tapes. Blank Tapes, as I mentioned, was one of my favorite tracks from To The Bone, and I felt that being placed here in the way that it was, coming after Even Less as one of the encore tracks, was a very good decision. He starts off the encore, pretty slow, and then kind of keeps it slow, because Sound of Music and The Raven That Refused to Sing are the other two songs that encompass the encore. The other one that I kind of liked on this was probably Permeating. I thought this was fun. I like how he introduced it, and this is one thing that I will mention right here, is I love the little bit of banter that we have between Steven and the audience within his past works, such as, even within the Porcupine Tree live DVDs that we had, like Arriving Somewhere, Anesthesize, Get All You Deserve. There wasn't a whole lot of banter between the audience and him. There was a little bit, there was the Freebird call out in Arriving Somewhere, but there wasn't a whole lot within Anesthesize and Get All You Deserve. So I liked a little bit more of the banter found here. I love how he introduced Permeating by basically saying, I've given up to pop. We can all agree that pop is great music, Beatles and ABBA, they were great bands. We don't have to be on our high horse of snobby proggery to recognize good music. And so he's written his own little pop piece, and that's where Permeating is. Even though I wouldn't really call it a pop piece. It was his best attempt so far-ish. Now that I think about it, there's a few other tracks that I would probably substitute for that. At least he recognizes it and he dives fully into it as well. That I thought was fun, and the banter he has as well when he introduces Even Less and a few other of the tracks I thought was really good, and kind of a breath of fresh air, because we get to see a little bit more of Steven's personality bleeding through outside of just his general music. And the other thing I will admit is the structure. The structure of where the songs are placed are very well. There's a great balance between the heavy proggy stuff and the more accessible poppy stuff that he's trying with To The Bone. I thought that balancing both were quite good. He always seems to balance 2 or 3 of the shorter poppy stuff with a really longer stretch, a really proggy and complex stretch, so that both sides of his fan base, those that really enjoy the poppy stuff, those that really enjoy the proggy stuff, both are satisfied at pretty much the same level. And that's pretty much about it in terms of the actual music and audio that's found on this. I can't comment too much on the DVD, full disclosure, because I haven't actually seen the DVD. From what I've seen within the promotional aspects of this, I really like how he was able to capture the idea of the stage presentation and incorporate that within the visuals. There were a few of the songs that I felt like this style, this augmented reality kind of a thing of adding the colors and adding things to the actual visuals. I thought it took me a little bit out of the overall presentation, but I feel like going in and viewing this overall, I think it would add a great addition to the actual presentation of the music. And this is something that's been done before, something that Peter Gabriel has done with the New Blood Orchestra. He did that very, very well. And I can see Steven Wilson doing it very well on here as well. So I'm excited to see how he utilizes that throughout a lot of these tracks. And I'm really excited to kind of dive into the actual visuals as opposed to just commenting on the audio as what I'm doing here. So overall, this is a great addition to any discography, one that I would highly recommend picking up, and I would say to pick it up in physical format. This is how it was meant to be listened to and experienced. It was meant to be watched. It was meant to be consumed visually as well as orally. So I'm really excited to dive into that and really see how he's able to use these visuals to the greater extent of the music. So that's about it for Home Invasion by Steven Wilson, his live performance at the Royal Albert Hall. What did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever your thoughts about this album or this live DVD, Blu-ray combo, whatever it is, let me know by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.